First, I will reform our special interest-driven politics. When I am president, I will start by closing the revolving door in the White House. I will make it absolutely clear that working in an Obama administration is not about serving your former employer or your future employer. When you walk into my administration, you will not be able to work on regulations or contracts directly related to your former employer for 2 years. Stricter limits than under any other administration in history.
The recent events in Wisconsin have brought home the reality of how much power union bosses have over our government, and as an extension, our universities and schools. Empty classrooms, school districts shut down, and students encouraged by their teachers and professors to protest. How does this happen? Well, Wisconsin is home of the oldest state-funded School for Workers. Each year it offers hundreds of programs designed specifically for union officials and union organizers. Organizers like those that ginned up the chaos in the streets of Madison, Wisconsin. How active has the Wisconsin School for Workers been in the Madison Mayhem is hard to say. But it advertises training in activism, the left's code word for mass intimidation, like the kind in Madison. The School for Workers produced publicly financed labor radio programs opposing Governor Walker and his reforms. But perhaps the most interesting contribution of the Wisconsin School for Workers is a source for President Barack Obama's overseer of union corruption investigations and union financial disclosures. His name is John Lund, and he heads up the United States Department of Labor's Office of Labor Management Standards. Lund, a professor at the School for Workers and a big labor-friendly expert hired by labor union officials, has taken a 2-year sabbatical from his Wisconsin position to oversee his former clients. Since his arrival at the U.S. Department of Labor, Lund has been very busy repaying favors to union bosses. Within days of his appointment, Lund, who chose to ignore President Obama's executive order on ethics, rolled back union financial disclosure and union official conflict of interest transparency to the benefit of his former clients. Lund eliminated basic financial reporting requirements for teacher unions like the Wisconsin Education Association Council and other state employee unions technically referred to as intermediate bodies. In addition, Lund is currently preparing to announce new conflict of interest reports that will exempt thousands of union officials from reporting no-show job payments. Under the current Department of Labor union officer and employee conflict of interest disclosure rules, known as LM30 reporting requirements, union officials are required to report their employer-paid union time in excess of 250 hours. In many cases, union officials' entire year's salaries are paid by their employer. Union time is the time union officials spend working on union activities and not working for the employer. Generally speaking, employer payments to union officials are prohibited except for payments that cannot be differentiated from the types of payments made to any other employee. But Lund intends to exempt employer subsidization of union activity. Lund has eliminated labor union reports regarding organizations and businesses such as banks and credit unions which they control. The AFL-CIO is no longer required to disclose its financial influence over one such organization, Americans' Rights at Work, where Lund's boss, United States Labor Secretary Hilda Solis, has an interest. Secretary Solis used to be the treasurer and a board member of the AFL-CIO-controlled Americans' Rights at Work. Other parts of Lund's broad rescissions eliminate disclosure of insider distributions of union assets to union officers and employees. Lund has blocked disclosure of often lucrative union officer and employee benefits such as cars and tax-deferred accounts. Former AFL-CIO President John Sweeney received about $1 million in 1 year from one such tax-deferred plan. Additional Lund rescissions allow big labor to conceal the sources and amounts of funds received by union officials on behalf of the union. This revenue concealment creates a loophole that makes labor unions attractive to organized crime and embezzlers alike. If the amount of revenue that unions actually receive is not disclosed, then it makes it easier to take the money before it's entered into the books, or to launder dirty sources of money. Through all of this, Lund has, if not in fact, in principle, violated President Obama's ethics executive order that, quote, closes the revolving door that allows government officials to move to and from private sector jobs in ways that give that sector undue influence over government, close quote. Lund has provided public testimony, official comments, and union officer training regarding the very disclosure reports that he now has significantly altered. He completely rescinded the Form T1, which disclosed union-controlled organization and businesses, and he's proposed eliminating thousands of union officials from conflict of interest LM30 reports. Prior to arriving at the DOL, Lund published a paper suggesting ways that union officers might transfer costs of his training onto the backs of taxpayers and employers. Incidentally, many of these payment transfers would have been revealed on the LM30 conflict of interest form that the department has now chosen not to enforce and intends to rescind. Lund's appointment to the U.S. Department of Labor mocks Obama's own ethics executive order and provides another example of big labor paybacks. The United States Congress needs to immediately begin an investigation, if it has not done so already, into the United States Office of Government Ethics and the U.S. Department of Labor's ethics officers' failure to enforce Executive Order 13490. Why are they allowing John Lund to continue this very public violation of President Obama's executive order?